4 days ago, SpaceX made history, the largest IPO ever. $75 billion raised, priced at $135 a share, and up nearly 20% on its very first day of trading. The excitement is real, the headlines are everywhere, and your phone is probably already buzzing with people asking whether to buy in. Today we're going to answer that question, not with hype, but with one lens that actually matters for this show. Is SpaceX a smart investment for someone in or near retirement? All right, welcome back to the Capitalist Investor. As always, you have me, Diamond Hands D, and we got Jack back on the show, buddy. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to talk about some SpaceX.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I just throw it out here. This is not going to be investment advice. All right, we're not telling you to buy or not to buy. We're just going to throw it out there and kind of talk the pros and cons because it's a hot topic right now.
Absolutely is. I feel like everyone in the market is talking all things SpaceX. It's obviously a huge IPO. It's had a lot of momentum behind it in the past couple trading days, and I feel like everybody sort of has their own opinion on it.
Yeah.
It's a very divisive stock in the market for sure.
Absolutely. So yeah, it's we're recording this on Wednesday. It releases on Thursday. The market just opened. I thought I saw last night the futures were way down, but it's already popped to start the day. So we're at about 212 is what I saw before I walked over here, up 6%. So again, that can change drastically by the time the show airs. But yeah, why don't you, Jack, set us up for a little bit for kind of what happened, a little bit of the background.
Yeah, so some of the background, in case you have missed it or not been paying attention, SpaceX priced its IPO at $135 per share under the ticker SPCX on June 12th of 2026. And the company raised $75 billion before underwriters exercised their over-atonement, making it the biggest IPO in history. Wow. So this is being priced at an extreme valuation right now. The first day, SpaceX opened at $150 per share, which was an 11% jump from the IPO price, and finished up nearly 20% on that trading day. And so, yeah, you currently have SpaceX being traded at a $1.7 trillion valuation. This is the seventh biggest company in the U.S. It's up there with Amazon, Meta, Microsoft. Like, think about that type of market cap. And, SpaceX is targeted a retail allocation of 30%, a much higher percentage than the typical IPO, which allocates just 5 to 10% for retail investors. So in dollar terms, roughly $15 billion of the raise came from retail investors. So obviously a lot of the retail market is getting involved with SpaceX.
Yeah, that's very important. So just to hit on that again, and I'm going to touch on it a little bit later. So basically the IPO was only about a 5% allocation that went out. So all these people who got all the awards, stock awards, like I saw a welder on there who has like 1.2 million worth of SpaceX stock now, just for doing one job at the beginning. So
it's insane.
Yeah, it's crazy. There's lots of colorful memes out there on the internet about the IPO. But yeah, it looks like Elon's still going to have about 82% voting control when all this is said and done. So we were talking a little bit before the show. So I'll start off with kind of the bull case. All right. I think the bull case is pretty much emotional. And it's probably a lot of the same people who were the Tesla fanboys to start off. I got in on Tesla pretty early. I was a fan. I'm a fan, quite honestly. But that type of kind of cult following, I think, is really kind of what's driving the early action on this price. But, what are the main cogs of the business? It's the Starlink. So, I saw Rick Ross had to fly public this weekend because he was getting Starlink installed on his private jet. So that Starlink is the rich people love talking about it on their planes.
It seems like a good product. Everybody seems to love it. But yeah, I think it's the main driver for this company right now.
Yep, for sure. So, and yeah, because it does. It seems like a flawless product, and you get internet pretty much anywhere. And then, I will say that Elon Fest, I don't even know, is like probably a year and a half ago now, where we had all the robots and stuff.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was a pretty impressive display.
Yeah. I like SpaceX, and you can even throw in Tesla. Like, they're cool sci-fi stories. Like, you want to invest in them. They're exciting. But at some point, you got to figure that the price, it might be too expensive for some of these dreams or hopes that Elon has for these two companies.
Yeah. And, I will say on the bull case, it is, there is a growth plan. It's definitely ambitious, but they might actually be able to reach $1 trillion in revenue by 2030. They have nowhere near the revenue of those other companies you mentioned. They're in the top 7 companies out there.
Yeah.
So, and I think this is kind of viewed also as kind of a company that's going to raise up like the entire space industry, if you will, kind of bring it to the forefront and the mainstream.
Well, yeah, I think currently the thesis around it is that SpaceX is going to be like the monopoly of space. Like, all the renting space for space, sending things up is going to go through SpaceX, which, if that's true and they have the monopoly, obviously that bolsters profit margins. That's obviously good for top line growth. But as you mentioned, hitting $1 trillion in 2030 when they're currently only doing $18 billion is quite the hike up.
Yep, 18 billion.
Or 18 billion, yeah.
Yep. No, I think that's what you said.
Oh.
So yeah, it's 18.7 billion last year, which is still a lot of money.
It is, but still a far call from $1 trillion.
So lots of momentum behind it, obviously. What is the bear case? So, quarter 1 2026, they had a net loss of 4.28 billion. so that's not the greatest way to start off this bear case. Obviously, investors at this stage are paying for the long-term investment aspect of it. The valuation at 1.77 trillion. Basically, they're already pricing in flawless execution, right? There's a long way to go to hit these lofty numbers that they have out there.
Yeah, I think I also saw they had a price to sales, at least at the time of making this video, of 130, and historically paying over 100 in a price to sales doesn't lead to great historical returns, let alone 130. So, obviously anything can happen with SpaceX, but obviously that's a pretty lofty valuation currently.
Yep, for sure. I think you'll probably hear that theme throughout this show. Great company. It's just the valuation that's a little bit maybe overinflated right now, overhyped. So also in the bear case, I guess Elon Musk himself can kind of be put in there. He's got, it seems unlimited amounts of companies out there. He sleeps at the Tesla facility apparently. He's got obviously lots of enterprises. Obviously has Twitter, X as well. There's as many people that line up behind him. They also have, he also has a large number of detractors out there, which is pretty odd. The world's first trillionaire, and people are out there calling him an idiot.
Yeah. I mean, Elon Musk, he's a very innovative, say what you will about him, but he's a very innovative guy, and he's built these companies into the massive tech giants they are today. So I don't know if idiot's the word I'd use to describe him.
Exactly. So, in the IPO pop problem, right? So, we've seen this. I remember seeing this up close on Facebook when Facebook originally IPO'd. There was a big blow up, and then it crashed down for an extended period of time. And same deal with Tesla. Tesla popped big. Obviously, it's been a hot topic really since it IPO'd. But it did run up very quickly and then came crashing down for a while. So this was what I was talking about earlier. So employees and private investors who receive shares before the IPO will be able to sell their shares after a lockup period. So that's like 90 to 180 days. So like we mentioned at the top, essentially only 5% of the total company is out there being traded right now.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like once that lockup period is over, especially with the recent run-up in the stock price after the IPO, I feel like you could see a lot of employees selling their shares, locking in those gains, and that could obviously open up the potential for maybe even a slight dip in the stock price.
Yep, I would say maybe even more than a slight dip.
So, I was being conservative.
Yeah, you're being nice over there, I could tell. But yeah, it's going to be, when those shares unlock, people have been waiting for this payday for a while. They're gonna want to sell some shares and cash in a little bit. So how much, we don't know, but it's definitely going to be an issue out there.
For sure. And I guess I'd pose this question to you, Derek. Does this investment serve your retirement income needs, or does it serve your excitement about space travel? Because those are very different portfolios. Like, how would you kind of frame this for people that might want to invest in the excitement, but they're also nearing that retirement age and they need a lower risk a little bit?
Yep. So that's a great question. I would kind of look at, well, maybe that's not the best example. So if you want to invest in SpaceX, I think you need to have some expectations going in. It's going to be a volatile stock. It's not just going to trade necessarily on the earnings and how it's doing as a company. It's going to be a turbulent stock. So if you want in, you have to set some rules for yourself, I would say. But this is a pure excitement play. Let's be honest. And you're seeing that now as the price continues to run up. It's the FOMO, right? We talked about this for a very long time with not ETFs, NFTs, and when Justin Bieber's out there paying $500,000 for a picture of a monkey, everyone wants to get in on that. It's kind of the same deal here. It's the company's there, the ambition's there, the plan is there. I think the leader is there, but hitting these expectations over time, I think, is going to be difficult. So, I want to get your opinion on this too. So if you're out there listening, you're approaching retirement, you're in retirement, I would put this in a kind of a fun stock category. So, if you have, whatever your main retirement accounts, and maybe you have, say $25,000-$50,000 set aside for some, some fun stock purchases. I think this would fit into that category. I wouldn't be counting on it for retirement income quite yet. I'm pretty sure it's not paying any dividend right now. No. And I suspect it would be a long while before they do. So definitely a growth company, early stages. So something I would not be putting my whole retirement behind, but if it's something you're passionate about, that's what this is all about. So by all means, in the right setting, I think it can be part of someone's excitement level during retirement.
For sure. I think the last thing I'll say on this is just, especially for retirees, the sequence of returns danger. So if you wanted to make a big bet on SpaceX and you put like 15%, of your portfolio into it. You have to be very careful doing that, because if SpaceX dropped, say 30-40% due to a market downturn or something fundamentally wrong with the company, this could be a problem that's very difficult to recover from for retirees. It would take years to recover from this and potentially, derail your retirement plan that is set in place. So I think it's something you have to be very cautious if you're going to be playing this game.
Yep, absolutely. And I think you definitely have to be patient either way. If you're buying in today on the hype, you're probably not going to be. You're going to be more of the diamond hands, right? You're not going to want to, sell it after it drops 20%. You're in it for the long haul, because people are buying it because it's a transformative company. That's
for sure.
That's the easiest way to say it. Not a lot out there exactly like it whatsoever. So that's why there is so much excitement. So yeah, definitely. I think investors that are passionate about companies and stocks and things like that is what makes this fun. But I would not be putting significant retirement dollars behind it at this point. But again, everyone out there is different. And some people can afford to take risk for a longer period of time, which I think you'll need to actually realize a good trade, because you're going to have to start seeing that the company hit those revenue numbers that they put out there.
For sure. Well, I guess we'll see what happens in the coming years and see whether SpaceX meets or falls short of expectations.
Yep, absolutely. So it'll be a fun ride. Tesla still is, to this day. I hear rumors out there that maybe these companies might merge together later on, Tesla and SpaceX.
I think that's the plan. So I guess we'll see a huge conglomerate of the next generation of technology coming soon.
Yeah, the new Wayne Enterprises, I think is what I said before the show. So, well, Jack, thanks very much for sitting in this week. Always nice having you in. And thanks everyone out there for listening. If you guys have any questions or comments, ideas for a show, hit us up at info@swpconnect.com, and we'll talk to you next week.
The opinions expressed in the podcast are for general informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any investment, legal, financial, or tax strategy. It is only intended to provide education about the financial industry. Please consult a qualified professional about your individual needs.